Hey, crypto traders. Hope you had a great week. Welcome to this week's episode of my crypto update. Where are we at? So, my view right now currently is that Bitcoin, well, it has pushed through resistance that I counted. However, does not yet have five waves. So, I see a real strong chance that Bitcoin may be signaling that our correction is over. I want to see a bit more. We'll go through the chart. I think the upturn that we've had is quite messy. A lot of the structure really isn't desirable for an impulse, but given that we poked through that resistance level I called out last week at 12,060, I at least have to give it a chance. So we'll talk about that. Right now, I see us at a very key inflection point. I can't say whether for sure whether we are going to head up, breakout, or correct and continue this correction lower. Also, if I look at just about every altcoin that I see so much more downside potential with very few indicating that this correction is over. So I want to lean down at least slightly, but I've been giving it a chance for upside and even pulling some leverage long scalps that so far haven't been successful. But we'll dive into what I see as potentially the last chance for upside. So let's dive in, and then we'll go over EOS. I thought I would get back to EOS and look at that chart after having called the top, May 31st, and what am I looking for some upside. All right, so let's dive in. So Bitcoin, I'd indicated 1260 as a very key resistance point, what I viewed as a pivot, that potential signal that this correction was over. We actually went up through to the 12,300 level. Over the last few days, I was tracking this triangle, which suggests upside. I also warned subscribers that potentially this triangle could be flipped inversely, and that's what turned out to be true. I noticed I was not the only Elliott Wave guy on the web tracking this triangle. Even actually, I'm gonna get rid of this for a second. Even folks that were not Elliott Wave were looking at that triangle's continuation pattern. Sometimes with triangles, they can be tricky. They can be flipped over on end, and you don't know until they're done. And certainly, we got indication with the breakdown through the lower end of the triangle that was at the very least an A with a B triangle and then a C wave down. Key support here for this impulsive move off way back July 15th, or potentially impulsive, is 10,650 at this point in time, which is the 50% retrace of this potential third wave. If we break that, and we certainly would break it pretty soon, then I don't see this, what I have here as an ideal target. I have it floating at 14, but 13,600 is ideal for this fifth wave. I want to zoom out on this, and when I look at this move off the lows, which is July, well, it looks like July 17th, this is questionable as five waves. So I've got it marked as an A and a 1. It's very questionable for that 1 because I don't see a clear five waves. Next, this wave down for 2 is really questionable in terms of being 5 down. So, but it's so low, it really isn't a reliable wave 2. So I've been counting it, my main count in white, as an ABC. And now, if we can get a wave 4 in here and hold this 10,650 and get that 13,67, then I will definitely give the benefit of the doubt that our bottom is in. I'll mark support for another wave 2. This will be wave 1 of 5, which targets $20,000 and above. So we'll mark a support level if we do see this fifth wave. Now, if we're heading down, because we had a triangle here, we would be in a diagonal. So we are still possibly targeting that 8,200. So as you can tell, I'm looking both up and down, and I'm simply looking at this pivot area we have here as indication of down. And if we break over this triangle, we certainly are most likely heading to this triangle. So I've got kind of an inflection point in here. I'm just going to watch the action. If it starts to form impulsive, I will leverage up for long. If we start to break down, I will start to hedge again. I haven't hedged since I've been down in this area. Roughly around the July 28th region. Didn't quite catch the exact bottom, but I saw enough divergence to know I didn't want to hang on to my hedges. So that's where we're at with Bitcoin. Very much an inflection point, very much not high probability trading in my view, unless we break over this triangle or break down below 10,650, which will indicate which direction we're going. Pretty easy, simple simple pivot points, but the action itself has really been teasing both sides of this market in my view. So we'll see how that goes. EOS, if you recall, it was a very early video when I first started doing YouTube that I had pretty much called the top, with confirmation coming a couple days after it was done. And that was May 31st with right around that, what is it called, Block 1 June, B1 June or something like that, announcements with Voice and other partnerships. Which a lot of times there's a lot of front running in news, and so many were looking at that announcement to be super bullish, pumping the price upward. And I had said that we completed a 5-wave move off of January. It's even questionable 5-wave move, but I call this a leading diagonal. It's just got some aspects to it with some strange proportions in the third that definitely raise questions. So right now, with this correction, I really want to see that we hold this wave 2, which ideally we have a 618 retrace to 296. Some deep twos go to 221. Some go lower after diagonals, but I really don't trust any bullish perspective lower than 221 on this one. And I'll get out I will sell all of my EOS if we break that point. But long term, since this is a wave 2 and this is a subsequent smaller degree wave 2, the next move is what we call the heart of the third, which is up into the 3 figures eventually in terms of projection. So if it really does hold this area and we really see an impulsive reversal, I'll be very bullish. We're just not there yet. I'm counting this as WXY A, B, and C. There's an all count where this is actually a very long C wave, and this is a 4th wave. If that's the case, we should bottom by 286. It's not my primary right now. My primary actually has us shoot down to the 250 region. But certainly at this point in time, we don't have any level of impulse. So either or, 286, 250 is the region I'm looking for a correction. You can see the MACD is starting to roll over on the daily right now for another move down. So we're looking quite weak. So good things I expect to come if we hold support. Medium term, I'm looking at this one still being down. And I have been buying a little. I actually caught the bottom of this wave here, but I knew that it was likely just a tranche for just a small time hold, and I didn't take it off. I'm just building a long-term position provided we hold 221. If we look at the EOS BTC charts, I mean, what a nosedive out of a B wave. You can zoom out here. But again, I look at this chart as long-term, very bullish fractal. As long as we hold the 618, which is, let's move this over, is at the 24 sats level. I think I'm always wondering if I'm saying the sats right, but we'll just call it that, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong. I just don't talk that way. And right now we have a projection, this very small projection, down into at least 27 roughly. Perhaps extend to 23, which would be a little bit below support. And then you see this big arrow, and I'm expecting this one to start a very big move up as well in BTC basis. But again, it all comes down to whether we hold support. This is all, I don't call this prediction simply because until the market really wants to show an impulse, it's just a projection and just an expectation, but the market's got to prove itself. It's always that way. All right, so we're getting really close with EOS to a level that I may be buying some more. Watching that support very closely for potential correction. So hopefully you guys understand the update as well on Bitcoin. Very key inflection point. I'm not going to trade this very aggressively in this point until it's much more clear. But potentially we're teasing a level where we could end this correction. It hasn't been my expectation. I've been expecting much lower. So we'll just see how it operates in this area and see if what type of direction we need to take on this. All right. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks for attending or watching, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.